Hey everyone, welcome to the Formula Consulting Group. In this video, we're going to dive deeper into step 6 of the formula and show you how to anticipate the interview questions you will be asked on interview day, and why doing so will help you come across as a more competitive and attractive candidate. If you watched our previous overview video, you'll know that anticipating interview questions is part of the interview phase of a multi-phase strategy we recommend for matching into top programs. We call this strategy the formula. Before we jump into how to anticipate interview questions, let's discuss why you should anticipate interview questions. You should anticipate interview questions for the simple reason that doing so allows you to prepare and memorize the best possible responses to those questions, which in turn allows you to sound confident, relaxed, and more attractive as a candidate. And for those of you concerned that preparing and memorizing answers somehow makes you sound rehearsed or robotic, let's go ahead and dispel that myth once and for all. In no way does preparing and memorizing answers ahead of time make you sound robotic or rehearsed unless you are literally reading word for word from a piece of paper and intentionally doing so in monotone. And no one with common sense would ever do this unless they were being held hostage and reading a ransom note. With the exception of the hostage scenario mentioned above, preparing, rehearsing, and memorizing your answers to the point where you can recite them without looking at notes actually has the opposite effect. It makes you sound organic, engaged, and interesting. Just look at dozens of real-life examples where successful people prepare, memorize, and anticipate answers to questions all the time. Actors in movies, attorneys in courtrooms, politicians in Congress, and even the program director has prepared extensively ahead of time to provide you with information about the program. Why shouldn't you be prepared as well? Why risk stage fright, drawing a blank, or having to come up with an answer in real time? Walking into an interview without preparing answers to possible questions is equivalent to walking into a police interrogation room without getting your story straight ahead of time. Not a great idea. An interview should therefore be viewed as an audition for a movie, where the interviewee is essentially the method actor. If you want to win the part, you have to come prepared. Now let's discuss how exactly to do this. The best way to anticipate interview questions is to survey interviewees from recent era cycle as to what questions they were asked, and then accumulate these questions into a question bank. Fortunately, we've already done this for you. The 4 most common questions you will be asked, and the ones you should absolutely prepare and answer for ahead of time, are: number 1, walk me through your background; number 2, why do you want to pursue this specialty; number 3, why do you want to join our program; and number 4, what are your weaknesses? There are other commonly asked questions, such as, tell me about a time you faced a challenge and how you solved that challenge, which we will discuss in future videos. So let's start with how exactly to prepare for and answer the question, walk me through your background. Ideally, this question should take no more than 5 minutes to answer, and is sometimes phrased a little differently, like, tell me about yourself. But regardless of how this question is worded, your answer should always adhere to the following parameters. Number 1, it should be a paraphrased retelling of your personal statement, but in a casual and conversational manner, as if speaking to a friend. Meaning, if you've taken the time to properly structure your personal statement, including important story beats like the teaser, the catalyst, and the second and third act, then you've already done most of the hard work in preparing an answer. And that's because what this question is really looking for is a story about you. And there's no better story about you than the one you created for your personal statement. The only difference is that now you are retelling that story in a shorter and more relaxed format, like a trailer for a movie or a synopsis. The second parameter your answer should follow is that it should articulate who you are as a person by explaining the life decisions and journey that you took to get to medical school and beyond. And that journey should be recounted in chronological order because, like most stories, it's easier to follow the plot in a linear fashion rather than jumping around different time periods. And it should also be expressed inductively because you want to build up to your point like you would with a friend, rather than starting with your point at the outset, which feels more rigid and makes it harder to connect with your interviewer. The third parameter your answer should follow is that it should focus on vulnerabilities and challenges as much as achievements and success. Which leads to our fourth and often most misunderstood parameter. It needs to avoid the temptation to focus only on victories, as the path to success is often preceded by failures, which makes your story more interesting. Think about it. Who wants to watch a movie where the hero is winning all the time? On the contrary, we love movies where the hero actually fails, at least at first. And just when you think there's no more hope, the hero pulls out a last-minute victory. And in your story, you are the hero. Therefore, you must have challenges and failures on the way to success. Resist the temptation to describe yourself as a superstar like Michael Jordan or LeBron James, and aim somewhere in the middle, like a Jimmy Butler. And for those who don't understand the basketball reference, Jimmy Butler is often the underdog who makes it to the NBA Finals using pure grit and work ethic. The final parameter that your answer should follow is that it should inject some humor, self-deprecation, and pop culture references to demonstrate that you aren't just 100% about academics, but also a relatable and approachable human being. The second most common question you should prepare for is, why do you want to pursue this specialty? Ideally, this question should take less than 2 minutes to answer and should adhere to the following parameters. Number 1, unlike the previous question about your background, which should be answered inductively, this question should be answered deductively, starting verbatim with, I want to be a radiologist or anesthesiologist or dermatologist because. The reason this answer should be deductive is because you are no longer being invited to tell a story like you were with question number 1. Rather, the interviewer actually wants to know how confident you are about your chosen specialty. And the best way to sound confident is to be deductive, meaning state the point quickly and concisely. The second parameter your answer should follow is that it should avoid repeating trendy phrases that others are likely using. The more unique your answer sounds, the more your interviewer will remember you. Stop trying to fit in and start trying to stand out. For example, rather than saying, I want to do anesthesiology because it combines so many different aspects of medicine, like pharmacology and physiology, which by the way, everyone says, you should instead say something more like, I want to do anesthesiology because I don't want to sit behind a screen all day like a radiologist, and I also don't want to be the captain of the ship like a surgeon. My personality is better suited for something in the middle that is both deeply personal and deals with real-time stakes. The third parameter your answer should follow is that it should avoid mentioning money, prestige, and lifestyle. Using the word lifestyle is tricky because there's the risk that it can make you sound like you're afraid of hard work. The fourth parameter your answer should follow is that it should focus on aspects of the specialty that others may find unappealing, and how these aspects actually complement your personality. We somewhat touched on this concept in the previous question, but let's go through one more example to really nail this in. Let's say that instead of interviewing for anesthesiology, you're actually interviewing for radiology. Rather than saying the common response, which is, I want to do radiology because it combines so many aspects of medicine. Embrace the aspects that others find unappealing and lean into them hard. Don't be shy. Say something like, I want to do radiology because the idea of sitting in a dark room looking at images may turn some people off, but it sounds wonderful to me. I also enjoy self-studying and working on my own. The fifth parameter your answer should follow is that it should be structured as a concise list that highlights 4 to 5 reasons that directly address the question. Avoid rambling because it makes you sound insecure. The third most common question you should prepare for is, why do you want to join our program? Now, even though we're saying this is a common question, there is a real chance you might not actually get asked this question directly. Nevertheless, you should absolutely volunteer to touch on this point. For example, let's say you get to the end of the interview and they still haven't asked this question, but they do ask you, so do you have any questions for me? You should respond with, yes, I do. But first, I just want to say how excited I am to be interviewing with your program because of, and then list your reason for wanting to join the program. But whether they ask you this question or not, the way you address this point should always take less than 2 minutes to answer and should always adhere to the following parameters. Number 1, your answer should be deductive, starting verbatim with, I want to join your program because, which leads us to parameter number 2, which is your answer should include reasons that reference details of the program that cannot be easily found on the program's website. Stay away from generic cliches like, you have a wide range of pathology. Sure, that is technically a good reason, but if that's all you got, you are not going to stand out because most programs can say this. Instead of just mentioning the wide range of pathology, get more specific by adding something like, you have a wide range of pathology and exposure to a high volume of lung transplants and pulmonary thromboembolisms. This is a much higher value answer because you are revealing your intimate knowledge of the program above and beyond what is stated on their website. The third parameter your answer should adhere to is that it should include one reason that is exclusively personal, such as the program's proximity to your parent, spouse, or family. Programs love when you have family in the area because it means you are more likely to stick around until at least the end of residency, if not longer. No one program wants to recruit a resident who is likely to leave the program for another program because it creates a headcount issue and potential funding consequences. The fourth parameter your answer should follow is that it should include one reason that is contrarian, that emphasizes an aspect of the program that others find unappealing and which you can spin into a quality. For example, if a program is new and only recently formed, some candidates may be turned off because the program doesn't have a track record. You can spin that weakness into a quality by saying something like, and I especially like that your program hasn't been around for long, because it means I'll have vast opportunity for leadership roles, greater responsibility, and an opportunity to help shape the program for future generations of residents. The fifth parameter that your answer should follow is that it should structure your answer as a concise list of 4 to 5 clear reasons. Avoid rambling. Listing reasons one by one will make it easier to follow your answer. The fourth most common question you should prepare for is, what are your weaknesses? Unfortunately, this is a lazy question that adds little to no value to the interviewer, yet is commonly asked. Since this is a low value question, in the event that you do get this question, your answer should last less than 1 minute and should follow the following parameters. Number 1, it should avoid statements that make people roll their eyes. For example, my weakness is I work too hard, or I'm too hard on myself. These are ridiculous and obviously self-serving weaknesses. Instead, provide a genuine weakness that does not directly affect the day-to-day responsibilities of your future career. This is the key to answering this question successfully. An example of a non-strategic weakness that raises red flags and will likely prevent you from ranking is, I'm not a morning person. No one in their right mind should ever confess to this weakness when interviewing for a program that will obviously require you to wake up around 6 a.m. for years. Why should anyone hire you if you are not a morning person? On the contrary, an example of a strategic weakness, one that does not affect your day-to-day future responsibilities, is I'm not the best public speaker. This is a great weakness to share because it is a real weakness that a lot of people can relate to. And as mentioned above, it does not really affect your day-to-day responsibilities as a future doctor. It is also a weakness that can be mitigated over time and even improved with practice and public speaking courses like Toastmasters. And finally, the third parameter your answer should follow is that it should always be cognizant of your specialty. If, for example, you're applying to radiology, you obviously can't say, I don't enjoy working alone, or I'm more of a people person. These are red flag weaknesses that will ruin your chances of matching. And now that we've discussed what the 4 most common questions are and the strategic answers to those questions, let's discuss how to prepare for interview day using these answers. The best method to organize all your answers into an actionable piece of paper that you can review, rehearse, and practice is to write your answers out word for word in a conversational format, like dialogue for a movie, with every detail as if you were speaking the answer out loud, including pauses to catch your breath, filler words like so and even personal notes to yourself to smile and laugh at certain parts of your answers. And remember, there's no such thing as sounding too rehearsed unless you are literally reading directly from a piece of paper and doing so intentionally in monotone, like a hostage reading a ransom note, which obviously we do not recommend. What you should be doing instead is practicing your answers out loud so many times that on interview day, your answers flow naturally, confidently, and engaging. It's always better to be prepared than to be caught off guard. And that concludes this video. If you want to check out our future videos where we deep dive into the remaining steps of the formula, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. If there's a question you'd like us to delve into in the future, please leave a comment below. You can learn more about our services at www.formulatomatch.com and on X at Formula to Match.